I'm not saying they're a dud as a human being. Look, I know a lot of amazing human beings that just aren't built for entrepreneurship. It just takes it like, I don't know, there's something wrong with us, right? Like, I mean, really break it down. It's like, okay, you got to take this job. There's no guarantee of anything, right? You're going to go have to work 80 hours a week. And maybe if you're lucky, you get paid.
This is the Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, shit talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it. All tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy.
Welcome back to the Agent Goldmine. Today, we have on Joshua Smith in the house. Man, this guy's a total and he has done it all in real estate. So get ready for a really exciting episode. Joshua has been licensed since 2005 and started his team back in 2006. And his team has sold over 7,000 homes. Last year, their GCI was 4.7 million, which is incredible. His personal awards include top 1% Realtors Team Leaders Worldwide. He was voted 30th top realtor in America by the Wall Street Journal and named top 100 most influential people in real estate. The list goes on and on. It's actually incredible. Joshua, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. It's going to be some
And
fun.
you
Yeah,
also-
and the thing that, when we see awards and accolades, and I don't want to sound like I'm not proud of them because I totally am, but the piece that everybody else misses is the 1,000x higher of a percentage of time that I've just been absolutely crushed and kicked down. And, as the great Napoleon Hill said, your success will be equal to the amount of temporary defeats that you experience. So on a far enough timeline, it looks, good, but man, it's, we all go through it. We all go through a lot of struggles. So I don't want anybody to also think that, man, I mean, I've been kicked in the teeth more than I can count.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thanks for adding that. Also, what we didn't mention yet is that you host your own podcast as well, which is the GSD Mode podcast, which I listen to every day. I love it. Like, you cover just like higher level aspects. You really do your own digging into the market and have your own opinion of the market as opposed to just regurgitating what a lot of agents do. It's like, oh, everything's going to be fine. This is different from 2008. So I love that you not just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You actually do your own research in order to make your own opinion. But to back it up a little bit, being that you do so much, how do you define yourself? Who is Josh Smith?
It's tough. Like when I get asked, like, what do you do? I'm like, I don't even, I just kind of pick whatever I feel like talking about. Like, oh yeah, I sell t-shirts, or I sell supplements, or I'm in software, or, I do some consult, it just kind of picks and choose. Like when people ask me that in a social setting of what I feel like maybe talking about, where that conversation may go. But no, I'm just a dude that wants to get done in life and live. We have one crack at this thing. So it's just like, okay, well, how can I optimize? And this is just my obsession. How can I optimize my experiences with this one gift called life that we have? And, because not to get too spiritual with this, but it's like, okay, when I was 14, I was still Joshua Smith. Because it's easy to be like, oh, well, I'm a husband, I'm a father. Well, I was still me before those things took place. So getting down to that, how do you define yourself? But yeah, man, I love business. I love building. I love growth. I love expansion. I love doing epic with epic people. And that's what I try to focus my time and energy on today.
Yeah. You were like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you were a different person like a couple of years ago because of the experiences that you've been through. And slightly related, unrelated, I was listening to a Taylor Tomlinson podcast where she was like, do you know who Taylor Tomlinson is? Unrelated to real estate. She's a comedian.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was like going down a rabbit hole of how comedians on stage presence, I'll relate this back to real estate. On stage presence, they're completely different to who they are off stage, right? And why a lot of comedians like go through depression, anxiety, but they're able to just bring it on when they're on stage. And she mentioned like just her background of having bipolar and like just mental illnesses. She feels like that person that she was back in the day when she was suffering that is a different person. She wishes that she could bring that person and show her who she is now. Do you, with your experience too, and I want you to tell your story, Do you feel any sort of similarity where that Josh Smith, back when you were 14, do you still have that connection with the old person that you were back then? Or do you feel
Yeah,
like you've
yeah,
severed
I
that?
do. I do. And I'm not one that is like, oh, I wish I didn't experience those experiences. Because like each experience forges you into who you are today. And if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't be the person I am today. But yeah, I mean, dude, I can relate with the dude that, the old me that was 300 pounds and morbidly obese, or close to 300 pounds, right? I can relate to the dude that was scared to even check my bank balance, right? Like, you ever had those times where like you don't even like you're scared to even use your debit card because you're like, oh man, I don't know if this thing's gonna go through or not. Yeah. I mean, I used to think it wasn't a blessing, but as I've aged and as I've gotten more mature in my entrepreneur journey, I see it as a massive blessing. But I've always been massively introverted. And, one bonus, I guess, for introverts is spend a lot of time in solitude, a lot of time in reflection, So I spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff, and remembering what situations were like during those times. But I find that can help me, help others at a higher level too, because it's a relatability. So, like, I own a supplement company, and my business partner is like an ex professional bodybuilder, like this biochemist. Like, the dude's just, I mean, he's like, he looks like The Rock. Like, he's like 6'5", two, just huge, so, but this is a dude that's just always been in amazing epic shape, so he might have a more, like, I can relate with the person that is like, hey man, it's so difficult to just not give into this food. Like, how to make it day by day or even hour by hour by not giving into this substance. Cause I've struggled with so much substance addiction, whether it be food, whether it be alcohol, whether it be, I went through a kick where I was addicted to Adderall and other things too, and had to figure out those different journeys of figuring that out. So yeah, being able to have those, relatability moments, I try to honor them and reflect on those times, to experience the growth and the appreciation of the growth in the journey. Because for me, when people ask about purpose, people like to me, it's just expansion, growth and expansion. Like, I don't really
Yeah.
have any goals, which sounds weird. I mean, I like, I'll set business goals and targets, but like if I don't hit those, it's not like I'm disappointed or, I don't use those to define me. To me, it's just, man, am I growing? Am I expanding? And all those experiences are just growth, expansion experiences. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that does. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways it's the relatability, the fact that you lived that is probably what makes you such a good coach and team leader in a lot of ways. And it's kind of like the idea of people thinking that they want to skip from being a new agent to a top performer, but it's really the suffering and it's the reps and it's the learning experiences through that that makes top performers what they are. So it's kind of like the is what makes you. At least, I mean, that's
Mhm.
kind of what I think. I'm curious with your coaching and team leading though. So you started early. You were an agent for a year. You started a team the very next year. Can you talk through like how your team started and evolved over the years?
Yeah, yeah, and even taking a slight step before that, because comparison can be a dangerous game, right? So, and what I mean by that is like, okay, I'm always looking at what other people are doing, and I might compare my business to that, but just like from a healthy aspect of to be able to learn from them, but not like getting down on myself or beating myself up because I'm not where other people are. There's a negative component of comparison. So, one of the blessings that I had before I got into real estate is my dad owned and operated gyms for 30 years. So, I mean, I started selling health club memberships for my dad at the age of 14, and getting into high level sales of, and well, I guess it's not really high level sales, but like, getting really into sales at an early age where it's, selling health club memberships, upselling to personal training packages and, growing up in an entrepreneur family, I got to see back end of business. I got to see back ends of, certain things. Plus, at a very young age, it let me know that like I had clarity at a young age that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It wasn't that my dad ever, made a ton of money with the gyms. I mean, he did okay, but it was like, I mean, he could go take a vacation, disappear with him and my stepmom for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and the gyms operated without him. Like he never missed like a wrestling match or like never like I mean he worked a lot, but he still I was able to see, I guess the lifestyle that being an entrepreneur awarded you. And dude, it was like everybody in the community respected him. And I just like I was like, dude, like that's what I wanted. So when I got into real estate, Like, I knew that I wanted to create a business out of this thing. Plus, at that point, I had a lot of experience because my dad sold the gyms when I was 18. I had an opportunity to take him over, but I was like, dude, like, we lived in a small, tiny 10,000 population town in Michigan. I'm like, dude, I think I just want to get the out of here. Right? So do your thing, sell them, get your buyout, and I'm gonna probably go experience some other things. But so then from there, after we sold those, I went and started working for some other facilities and became a district sales manager for Powerhouse. And so I had experience with opening up facilities from scratch and building out, hiring from your first employee all the way to developing sales teams where I was able to then exit and go open up another facility. And so I had a lot of expertise in team building before I even got into real estate, and a lot of sales experience, So then from there, it was just transitioning out the product. So when people hear that, okay, did 48 deals your first year out of the gate. And that was in, 2005. There was like no smartphones or DocuSign. And, took a little bit longer, it was a little bit harder. But, I was able to go out there and hit success out of the gate because I just had to interchange the product. Like I was already used to picking up a phone book and doing 100 cold calls a day. I was already used to prospecting, marketing, all of that stuff. Wasn't afraid to talk with people, wasn't afraid of rejection. A lot of those things that a lot of new agents have to overcome, especially if they don't have a big sales background prior, So, but then from there, yeah, I do 40 deals my first year. I wanted to double the second year, but just assessing this, I'm like, dude, I'm already working like pretty much 4 a.m. to midnight. Now, also put this into perspective. I'm 23 years old, not married, no kids. So I could, you know, today it might be a little bit different. I jumped in with 3 kids and being married. But then, I was just like, okay, I don't have the capacity. There's not enough hours in the day. So then again, because back then teams weren't really a thing. And I know I'm totally dating and aging myself here, but dude, there were no podcasts. There was no YouTube. Like none of this existed, so
Yeah.
kind of had to,
Yeah.
figure this stuff out. But luckily because of that experience, I was like, okay, what's from my experience? Like business is business. Doesn't matter. Like my supplement business, no different than my real estate business, just interchange the product. So then from there, it was like, okay, when I was in the health clubs, it was like, okay, we get to a certain membership base, pre-selling the gym. Okay, then we'd hire first admin to do the non-money making activities, and I'd focus on that. Then get to a certain, membership base. Then okay, then I could bring on my first salesperson, and then so I just really deployed that, and so went from 40 deals my first year, 103 my second, and then that. So in the way that I classify it, things have changed, for definitions. I look at more than one as a team. So I know that you got all these solo agents now, but they'll have like 8 assistants and they're closing 500 homes a year and they say they're a solo agent. And cool, I don't attach definitions. I see why they would say that, but I look at this as more than one as a team, like more than one mind, more than one body focusing on growing my business. So that second year was just, really me and an assistant. And then from there, got to the point, the next phase was, this is back in the day when we was in Franklin calendars. Like I'm looking down at my calendar. I'm like 3 weeks booked out from being able to take on clients. Like people reaching out to me that want to do business with me, but I couldn't even meet with them for 3 weeks. So I'm like, dude, I'm just pissing away money here. So now I need to bring on
Yeah.
agents and start adding agents. And when I first started hiring agents with my team, it's, kind of different than a lot of teams operate today, or even how my team operates today. But in the beginning, it was just for them to take overflow of the people. Like I wasn't trying to get them to lead generate. I was just like, hey, dude, I have way too many clients to serve. I just need you to go help these people, and yeah. So what, 17 years later, here we are.
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Ali the Agent and The Shelby Show.
Wow. I that's intense. I love this. So I want to fast forward to now. Now that and specifically talking about the market. So we're recording this September 2023. No one ever knows what's going to happen in the future. You certainly have done your research and have formed your opinion, and it's not as optimistic as you say in your podcast as other people's opinions of the market. With that in mind, how are you coaching broker owners, team leaders to help their agents survive during this time?
Yeah, I mean the first element of everything is mental, right? So the first thing is, a mental philosophy that I operate by, that I try to get, all my agents, coaching client, whomever, is just the understanding that there is no actual such thing as a good market or a bad market. Market's always good for somebody. It's our job as real estate professionals to identify whom the market is good for and then pivot and transition accordingly, based on whom it's good for. Because transactions are always taking place. I mean, if you look at, like 2021, 2020, 2021, maybe early 2022 until cost of capital started going up. Okay, the media and everybody talked about that being this great real estate market. Well, who was it great for? If you were selling, it was great for you. But for buyers, it freaking sucked. When there's 100 offers on every property, and you're having to put 25 different offers on 25 different properties, and you're just getting gut punched over and over and over, and you're having to pay $100,000 above appraised value and cover the appraisal. Like, that sucked for buyers. It was great for sellers, but sucked for buyers. And then there's markets that suck for sellers, are great for buyers. There's markets that, maybe suck for traditional clients, but maybe are great for hedge funds. So I look at this as, okay, my niche really is, okay, residential real estate within this geographical location. Okay, well, who's transacting? Who is that particular climate good for? And then let me go out there and pivot accordingly, based on whom it is good for. And that's just served me. I mean, that's allowed me to grow and scale my business year after year, regardless. For 18 years straight now. So it doesn't matter what the market is doing. It's because, again, there's always transactions taking place. So then from there, I mean, each market is different. And I mean, like, okay, today's climate is vastly different than really any of us have ever experienced. So when we look at this, it's okay, if you want to make good, consistent money month over month, that really, you got to have a plan, but that really comes down to your consistency of your habits, right? Showing up every single day. I think, when I talked to you on my podcast, Ali, it was like, okay, I'm going to hit 7 or 6 real estate conversations every single day. Yeah, right. Okay, like those consistent habits, right? But then from there, if you want to have the ability to continue to grow and scale year after year, you also, in addition to that, have to have the ability to go out there and read the market, right? So then again, this comes down to, okay, whom is the current market good for? Where are those opportunities at? And with that, understanding that what worked yesterday isn't always going to work today. So again, from that mindset perspective, it's no such thing as a good market, no such thing as a bad market. The market's always good for somebody. I need to identify whom the market is good for. It's almost like because success is always internal, it's never external. So if I blame the market for my lack of success, now I'm giving up my own power and saying that, okay, it's on something beyond me. So there's nothing I can do about it. So, so that's number one. And then, number two, and this goes back to another mental thing of, look, just because the rest of the world or the rest of the industry or the market's experiencing this thing doesn't mean you need to experience it, right? Okay, like during COVID, I mean, there's a lot of fear. There was a lot of people that, I think I heard somewhere that suicide hotline rates were up like 800%. So a lot of people that, started getting down mentally. Okay, that might be going on. I chose to not participate in. Right? It was like, okay, I just committed to, okay, I'm going to have zero fear through this. I met with my doctors. I'm like, what do I need to do? They're like, okay, keep your body fat low, get good sleep, reduce internal toxins, take 20 milligrams of vitamin C per pound of body weight, take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3. I got some very great homies that are very great, amazing doctors. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be proactive, control what I can control. And then outside of that, I'm just not going to participate in the rest of this. I'm not going to let myself get down, so just because this market right now is experiencing a massive contraction doesn't mean you need to participate in the contraction, right? So then from there, okay, I just chose that, hey, I'm not going to participate in this. We just had our best month last month of my whole entire career. We're 30 million just from the team, not counting the other stuff. But over 30 million in volume just last month. And we just mentally committed to, okay, we're not going to participate in this. We're going to continue to go out there and crush it. All right. So then from there, then now let's talk about strategy. Okay. So about 2 years ago the Federal Reserve, because they tell us the moves that they're making. Okay. Federal Reserve comes out and says, okay, we're going to start a quantitative tightening cycle, right? So, because so many realtors think that interest rates are tied to what Jerome Powell is doing with increase of interest rates. And that's just not the case, right? Interest rates are set based on mortgage-backed security purchases, and the reason that interest rate, because if we look at this, interest rates were going up 0.5% per month on average before Jerome Powell started increasing the overnight Fed fund rate. Right. So, and then why is that? Well, Jerome Powell, during COVID, the reason interest rates were so low is they were buying about $90 billion a month of mortgage-backed security. They were the essentially only mortgage-backed security purchases, which what brought mortgage-backed securities down to, 2 to 3%. And really you start breaking it down and getting into the gritty of this. It's kind of like, dude, that's kind of unconstitutional what they did, So I don't know if we'll ever see that again. I'm not planning on it. But anyway, he comes out and is like, okay, we're done with this. Here's where we're stopping to purchase mortgage-backed securities. Here's where we're going to start our rate hiking cycle. So then from there, when quantitative tightening takes place, okay, that is going to you're going to see contraction economic activity. Yeah. So, okay, we started prepping for this in the beginning of 2022. So then from there, now we don't know the extent that this is going to go to, but it's like, okay, shit's going to change. So now what are those KPIs that we need to be tracking? What does this look like? So we started tracking very closely. Okay, how is this impacting transaction volume? So then from there, if you look at, okay, here in the Phoenix metro area, from peak of 2021 market, through, let's just say kind of end of 2022, after the, quantitative tightening was kind of full into effect, well, we saw transaction volume dip about 39%. So, okay, so as we're tracking that month over month, step number one is we're hedging our business plans based on the transaction volume differential, right? So in the quickest way anybody can go out there and do this is, so August of 2023, at least as of us recording this, will be the last month that we have data on for how many homes sold in our market, right? So, okay, I'm going to look at that. And then I'm going to go and take a 5-year standing average. So how many homes sold in August of 2022, how many in 2021, 2020, and so forth, get a 5-year standing average. And the reason why I say a 5-year standing average is because the last few years were just kind of nuts. Yeah, right? So then what is the average number of units selling in your market? How much is that down right now on a percentage standpoint? Okay, and then now you got to hedge for that. So what do I mean by hedging for it? So we started looking at this. Okay, our market's down 39%. That means per every single lead source, we got to generate 39% more leads and follow up with 39% more leads to get the same result. So if I'm normally getting 1 out of 10, okay, now it's 1 out of 14. If I'm normally getting 1 out of 100, now it's a 1 out of 140. Right? So that was for that, the hedging aspect. Then from there, then it comes down to just paying attention and adjusting strategy. Because like what we are doing today is vastly different than what we did 18 months ago. So we've got the hedging for transaction volume, then we've got pivot of actual strategy, right? So, okay, if you look at, again, this just goes back to what we were talking about earlier of whom is the current market good for? So who is this market good for today? Like right now is not a shotgun approach style market. We've got the most unaffordable that real estate's ever been in United States recorded history. We got the most unaffordable time to be alive as U.S. citizens in recorded history. And regardless of what Jerome Powell or what they're saying out there that our primary objective is to bring inflation down, fight this inflation, it isn't going to happen, right? So probably the next 5 or 10 years, like just plan on life getting 10 to 20% more expensive every single year. So this, contraction volume, at least with the moves that they're making right now, don't listen to what they say, watch what they actually do, right? And the moves that they actually make. So we are amongst right now, you've got $2 trillion a year of deficit spending. So, and I can go deeper in this later, but I truly believe we're already in another Great Depression, like down the road in the history books. Like I believe we're already experiencing it. People just aren't aware of it yet. So when we look at these though, okay, you've got about 40 to 50% of the consumer that's just completely wiped out of being able to participate in this market. So things like, okay, circle prospecting, maybe in a normal market that works good. But when you got 70, 80% of people that have a 3.5% or lesser interest rate, like where are they going to go? They just don't want to sell right now. They may want to sell, but it just doesn't make sense right now. So right now, like those shotgun approaches, right now we got to operate like we freaking sniper scope, like we were snipers. So who, not just who has a want, but who has a need, who has a desperation. So example on the seller side, like what we're cleaning house right now. Yeah, you got expireds, you got FSBOs, and we go after those too, because they've got their hand up and they're good. It's a good lead source. But the issue is there's lesser of them and you have 50 or 100 other agents going after them. So then from there, it's just, okay, well, who else? I'm just always looking at pain and pleasure. Who has a pain that they're experiencing? They want to get out of pain and get to pleasure. And then I can help facilitate that pain to pleasure experience, because that's all sales is, right? So then from there, okay, well, we've got investors. So right now, for the first time in 20 plus years or so, we're experiencing, at least in most markets, cap rate compressions. So if you look at my market, for example, rents are down 6% year over year. So if somebody was at a 10% cap rate, let's just say, the year before, they might be at a 4% cap rate right now, but then stack on that you got taxes going up, you got insurance going up, you got deferred maintenance with labor going up. So they might actually be at a 2.5% cap rate now. So if I'm an investor with a buy and hold and I didn't buy that thing, years and years ago, and I didn't buy that thing right, okay, now I'm watching my, cap rates go down and down and down. So if I were ever to want to sell my house at or close to peak pricing before my cash flow goes into the negative, okay, now is the freaking time. Yeah, right. Then, so we're targeting long-term buy and holds right now. We're targeting the out of your short-term vacation rentals because of the economy right now, dude, you got domestic travel falling off of a cliff. So your average Airbnb, as an example, is like a 70% occ rate. Right now, they're about a 56% occ rate. In my market, they're at a 52% occupancy rate. So you just had what, 18% of cash flow go out the window from norm. 50% of Airbnbs in these short-term vacation renters were acquired post-COVID. So a lot of these weren't necessarily bought right. So they're, in a tough position. And when I say a lot of them, we're in a business where its successes happens in the margins, dude, right? Or in the minorities, right? So it's like, okay, I only need 5 or 8% to be in a position to move forward. Like with our investors that we're going after, we're converting at 8%. So 8 out of 100, we get to say yes. The other 92 don't want to sell. Okay, that's fine. Like, give me those numbers, dude. I will pound those numbers all day long. Yeah, right. Then from there, we're targeting the out of NODs, notice of defaults. So right now, you've got 2.8% of all mortgage holders throughout the whole entire United States that are now 30 plus days in default. So that equates to between mortgages and HELOCs, because there's 84 million mortgage holders, 12 million HELOCs. So that's almost 3 million people right now throughout the United States that are behind on payments. So you look, because you look at like people's savings rate. So pre-COVID average savings rate in the United States was around 9%. During COVID, it's shotgunned up to over 30% because of all the stimulus. Now it's down to about 3.5%. So excess savings is gone, right, from COVID, but they're about a third less, so 3x lesser than historic average. But then when you look at debt on the consumer cycle side, credit card debt at all-time highs, mortgage debt, student loan debt, just consumer debt. So people are barely able, they're not even able to afford life. They're having to go into debt just to afford life. So you got a lot of people hurting right now. So then, okay, we go out there and target those people and help them sell their home and avoid a foreclosure. So that's what I mean by like getting laser focused. So we got to hedge our business plans, keep our minds right, and be more strategic with, our marketing plan pivots. And, when people ask me all the time of like, well, what would you do now today if you were an individual agent versus a team leader? I'm like, it's all the same. The game doesn't change. I just might have, I got 50 people playing the game versus just me. Now my job as a team leader, like I'm not out there personally doing these things. I just need to make sure my agents have the skill sets to go out there and do these things and support them doing these things. But we're still all doing the same. Like the game doesn't change. The only thing that changes is how big do you want to scale it and what's your model that you want to build to go out there and deploy to build to scale the game.
Where are you learning all this? So you just hit us with a ton of data. We were taking notes the whole time, like amazing stuff. And I loved it. Was a very different way to look at who to target. We've actually had a lot of people come speak to us recently about farming. And I love what you said about the long-term, the short-term, NOD type of thing, especially since Ali and I have personal experience with that. Like I had 18 short-term rentals, 2 years ago. And guess how many I have now? 0, because I shut them all down and they're all long-term. And luckily I bought at a time when rates were low and it was, easy to find vastly undervalued property. But if I would have bought just a little later in the game with a little higher interest rate or a little worse of a deal, I just don't know how survival would be happening. So like when you were saying, both of us were like, yeah, this is so right. But all that to say, dude, like where are your sources of knowledge when you're learning about, like, do you have any key people that you follow, or do you have like groups that you're like, where's your data coming from for yourself?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I don't do. Now, it's not that I'm trying to hide sources, but I've learned a long time ago of like, look, if we go onto YouTube and we're watching this is just this, guy or girl regurgitating what they learned, and it's just all this regurgitated. And, like for me, for sources, I try to go to first, like, original sources, right? Like, so a lot of this, and I'm just kind of a geek with it, but it's like, dude, like I watch, okay, like for me to see what the Fed's doing, okay, like I look at I spend about a half day once a month to gather all this data. So I want to spend 99.9% of my time executing on strategy, right? So then I take about a half a day once a month just to go out there and do my due diligence. And I'm just tracking data numbers. So it's like, okay, like what's going on with the Fed? Because it's all public data. Like I can see what's going on with the Treasury. I can see what's going on with the Fed's balance sheet, and there's different sources, I guess, for different things. But I want to go to people that are true, actual, like 100% full on experts, in their field. So like when I'm studying inflation, okay, there's a couple food scientists that I follow that like they truly understand how the Russia and Ukraine war is going to impact certain nitrogen and phosphate, fertilizers and what that could potentially mean, for our food cost prices. So I try to go to as much as possible with first original sources. I mean, for real estate stuff, we're all blessed. Like we have it in our MLS. Like we can see what's going on with, inventory rates with all of that, but I don't watch the news. I don't watch YouTube, which might sound kind of, you know, oxymoronic of I have a YouTube channel. I encourage people to watch it. But for me, I'm going to spend zero time on YouTube. Yeah, right. There is, okay, like I like Zero Hedge. I'll go to, there's a website called Zero Hedge. It's more of a investor kind of focused platform, see what's going on. Now they do have, a right leaning, ideology. So, just depends. Like if somebody's like left winging, they might go, but like you got to go learn to get beyond that. Yeah, right. Like, okay, who's left wing? It's like, to me, I don't, not to say that that doesn't matter for people, but to me, it's like, I'm looking for what is actually going on so how I can make business decisions. So, like, I don't care what this person's freaking business or life ideology is, whether I agree with them or not. If they are specialized in this area and have something I can gather from it, then I'm going to take that intel for what it is, So, but yeah, Zero Hedge is great. I'm blessed that, one of my mentors is the number one private financier on and the natural commodity space on the planet. So I get a lot of great intel from that mentor, just people that are, it's like, okay, when people say like, oh, here's what's going on in this part of the world. Like, how do we really know? Right. It's like, okay, I want to go reach out to people that I know that live in that part of the world, that are experiencing that or that have extreme knowledge, in that space. So I can get, as much as firsthand knowledge that I possibly can get is what I'm looking for.
Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that shit. Makes sense. And so you and that 1% are doing the research, you're, learning as much as you can, and then you come up with your assessment, right? And between you and the people on your team, my question really is, how does it come from your brain with where you need to target, how you need to strategize into action with the agents? Is there like, are you direct line or are there like squad leaders underneath you who go and tell the agents? Like, what does your team look like in transfer of knowledge?
Yeah. So, okay. So when it comes to, I mean, I've got ops manager, I've got a full-time team leader. So like, I'm not involved in day-to-day stuff, but when it comes to, my lane is really when it comes to overall company vision and overall company strategy. So I do, a weekly mastermind that I still host with all my agents, and same thing with, my broker, owner, client, whatever, like I'm, I mean, that's coming directly from me as far as that. Now, kind of everything else is like, you don't want to come to me to ask, I haven't personally sold a home in 10 years, so I mean, when we sell,
you were to click
however
on
many
that
units, like, I don't know the addresses. I don't know. I tell my, agents, I'm like, dude, the quickest way to get in a lawsuit is come and ask me for how you should write a contract. Like, I don't, but we got the right people to help them with that. Right. So then from there, yeah, I'm trying to lead them as much as possible, So I've been warning, for, the last 2+ years now for, okay, hey guys, like inflation's going to hit. And I want to get my agents prepared for not just how to pivot with the market changes, but then how to also operate in life during these times, So, for several years now, really, I guess it's been longer than that because it was before COVID hit, because what a lot of people don't realize is 5 months before COVID hit, we had a massive liquidation crisis in the banking system, to the magnitude of that bailout was larger than the actual great financial crisis bailout. The only difference is the bailout was ahead of it. So the Federal Reserve was ahead of it this time versus letting Bear Stearns. So there's a $6 trillion bank bailout 5 months before COVID. And then you have COVID hit. And then with, all the other, 40% of every dollar to ever be printed in existence of the United States was then printed in that time frame. So, okay, you pull money out of the future, you pull in the now, that is going to be extremely inflationary. Okay, so I'm seeing those moves. So I just start prepping my agents. I'm like, hey guys, like now's the time to freaking work your ass off, grind hard. Don't like, I get that there's times in life we want to balance, but you got to understand in business. And this is the same message I'm preaching to him today, but it's like in business, there's times of peace and there's times of war. We just got out of a decade of peacetime. We got out of a decade of an economy in a real estate market that we'll probably never see again. That was like, you could just half show up and do deals. Okay. That's done and gone. Right. So right now like, don't be focused on, I need balance. Right now, you need to make that decision on if you want to have a successful real estate career or not. Like, do you want to be a and I'm pretty blunt, with my people, but it's like I want you to make that decision right now, like, cause I want commitments, right? So okay, are you gonna do like, which pain do you want to experience? The pain of having to grind and work your ass off, probably harder than you ever have had to in your entire career. Or do you want to have that pain of having to go face your spouse, face your kids, face your family, and worst of all, face yourself in the mirror and know that you became a statistic and you had to quit the business, not because of the market, but because you chose to not do the market. Like, just pick and choose. But I only want those that are choosing and committing to this to roll with me. Like, if you don't, go just get the out, do us all a favor, go get a job, do yourself a favor, to your family. Like, just peace out right now. Right? If you are not committed to working harder and being more focused, and doing what it takes to go out there and pivot through these times like this, like, go somewhere else. Right. But then from there, of course, I've got to, show them what that looks like, so, I've been telling them for years now, okay, every year plan on, cost of food going up 20%, gas going up 20%, cost of life going up 20%. So live below your means. Don't be making stupid purchases. Bank up as much capital as you possibly can right now. Have cash on reserves right now. Don't worry about going out there and investing in right now, because there's no good investments anyway, out there right now. Just make sure you are in a good, strong position. Now, here's also how to go out there and make that money. And then I found too, like, you got to frame this stuff right. Like, okay, I could go in there and just scare the out of my people, but what good is that going to do? So like, I'll go in there and I'll make sure, like, look, if somebody's going to come up and punch me in the face, I want to know that they're coming so I can move out of the way. Yeah. Right. So, but framing that. So like, before I get in there, like, it'd be like, okay, guys, just, again, there's no such thing as a good market, no such thing as bad market. There's going to be massive opportunity here. Now, I'm going to walk you through and show you how to go out there and capitalize on those opportunities and make sure that you are not contracting, that you are growing and thriving right now. But I want you to understand the situation that we are currently in. So here's the situation that we are in. Here's why it's important to do these things. Now, here's how to pivot and do those things, because I don't want them to get, just full with a bunch of doubt and fear and then not know what those options are to go out there and execute and succeed.
What are you seeing within your organization? Are they standing up to that? I know you mentioned you had the biggest month ever last month, or are you seeing some people make the choice to leave?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things is about 2 years ago, I started telling every one of my broker owner team leader clients, I'm like, hey, look, whatever your recruiting goal or goals have been, double them, if not triple them. Right? Because you're going to have to hedge against this, just like we talked about an agent with transaction volume. Okay. Like, look, there's just, I don't want to say that the percentage has grown, but it's okay. You got your top 20% that are always going to be, that are just going to be your killers, right? Whether you give them one lead or 100 leads, like, they just go out there and figure out. That's like, the three of us, like, we're just going to go out there and get done. And maybe it not be, like, we might be above in that top 20%, but you got, your top 20% that are always going to be your kind of quote unquote top producers. Then you got your middle 60%, what I call the influencers, where it's like, okay, with the right environment, with the right systems, with the right training, with the right accountability, those are the agents that, okay, on their own in a different environment, might only pop 6 deals a year, but within the right environment, might pop 18. Then you got your bottom 20%, which is your duds, right? And when I say that, I'm not saying they're a dud as a human being. Look, I know a lot of amazing human beings that just aren't built for entrepreneurship. It just takes it like, I don't know, there's something wrong with us, right? Like, I mean, really break it down. It's like, okay, you're going to take this job. There's no guarantee of anything, right? You're going to go have to work 80 hours a week. And maybe if you're lucky, you get paid. Like, we're all a bunch of freaking freaks, that are just unemployable. So we got to go out there and do our own thing, So when I say a dud, I don't want anybody to take that wrong. I'm not calling it, but they're just, they're not built for this. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So with that, yeah, I mean, we've, had a lot that haven't made it. We've had a lot that have had to drop out and quit. But in any market, we have that, right? The percentage is probably a little bit higher, of those that have dropped out. But then we're seeing so much freaking talent enter this industry right now. It used to be like, okay, you'd get people like me that were college dropouts that, which is still a good thing. I'll take those people all day long too. But now, man, I'm getting so many cops, like just, that are just like, hey, dude, I'm done with, this. Like, and dude, cops make amazing realtors, right? I mean, at least in my experience, right? You've seen a lot of high level teachers,
And military.
like
Military all the
principals
way.
even, and, military, like just a lot of people that are like, hey, that had amazing careers, but are just seeing that, okay, like maybe this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or, there's a lot of, and this could be a whole other podcast. There's a lot of changing in all aspects of life right now, right? So we're seeing a lot of talent. I've never had this many people come in with master's degrees, and whatever. So I'm really excited about the level of tier talent that we're seeing enter this industry too.
So let's talk more about that on the recruiting side. Where are you finding these great pools of talent, and followed by how are you screening them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, so just like when we're generating buyer seller business, we have to have a consistent lead gen plan, so it's treating recruiting the same way. Because we're always recruiting. You're either recruiting buyers, recruiting sellers, recruiting agents, or you recruit your leadership team to do those things for you. But at the end of the day, we're always recruiting top tier talent, right? So then from there, okay, like we have a ton of success just recruiting off Indeed. So with Indeed, though, this is where we're getting a lot of, okay, like if I'm a cop wanting to get out of law enforcement and come into real estate, like they're used to going to Indeed to like, okay, like the three of us may not go to Indeed looking, we would know not to go that path looking, to go interview brokers, right? Or teams, but that's as far as new agents at all different calibers, Indeed is extremely successful for us. So doing Indeed ads, partnering with the local schools so you can pay, not all areas allow this, but at least in our market, you can, like, okay, I can buy the list. So I get everybody that signs up for school. I get a list of everybody that passes the test. Then we can also like get a chance to go in and do lunch and learns and, talk with the new agents. Cause that's kind of like a FISBO or expired. Like, dude, they need, somebody to go out there and work with them. Right. And then Facebook ads, cross sale agents that we, had a good experience with. Like, I'm just trying to recruit everybody. Like, I just want everybody, right. And when I say I want everybody, we've got core values. Like I've got a very strict no policy. I don't have a big vocabulary, so my core values are, but I just have a very strict no asshole policy inside my organization. Like I cannot stand, I'm not a big fan of like sarcasm, not that I've got friends that are sarcastic, that's part of their personality, but I mean, like in a way where like, I don't care how much you're producing, dude. Like if you're belittling people in our organization, like if you're a jerk, if you like, we're here down to lift people up, not tear anybody down. So like, that's like I just have zero tolerance of that, so, got some core values there that we hire on. Now it's different from how I hire a staff member, or somebody, in leadership or, is vastly different than an agent. Because what I've found with agents, dude, is there is no, at least for me, I've yet to find, and I've tried, man. Okay, like what different profile tests can we give them? Personality tests can we give them? What's the perfect breakdown demographic, psychographic makeup of the perfect agent? It's like, dude, I've hired so many people that I'm like, oh, this person's going to be a rock star. They're going to be a stud. And all of a sudden they are the biggest dud I've ever seen. Maybe they were a stud in their previous career, but then they come over here. There's no accountability. They can't get their ass out of bed till 10 a.m. every single day. And they just, and then I've hired those where I'm like, oh, dude, I think I made the big mistake here. And then they surprise the out of you. So, things I'm really looking for is, I look at, okay, get clear on who your PITA is. So you're pain in the ass that you don't want. Right. So instead of the ideal clients, like what is the PITA? Okay, if somebody's not resourceful, if they can't watch a video and figure it out, if they need to be handheld through every little thing, okay, I'm not for you. Yeah, right. Then from there again, if they're belittling, so I kind of have like really more of, okay, who like screening for, those big negatives. Then from there on the agent side, one thing that I always look for, and this isn't a definite, so I'll still take them on, but then I just believe in testing. Like, don't listen to what people say, watch what they do, right? Because people can talk all the shit they want to talk. They can, and this is the same thing, personal life, friend life. I'm like, dude, like words to me are hollow. Words mean nothing. It's like, what do your actions show what you truly value? Your actions show what you're truly about. So just don't tell me, show me. Yeah. Right. But one thing that I have found good with like, especially agents on my team, I'm looking at, because they don't have a track record in most cases when they're joining a team, right? They're like brand new agents or struggling agents that are typically looking to join a team. So I'm looking for like, I like those that have a chip on their shoulder. It's like one of my agents just got licensed in Tucson. He's brand new. He's licensed here, building his business here, just got licensed in Tucson. And he picked out this like dude that, he had a conversation with the guy, and the guy said something that, but he's just like, I'm just going to go dominate and prove, like, I want to murder this, like, not in a realistic, like from a business standpoint. Like, he is so driven. It doesn't, not even about money. It's just like, I got to chip, like, I got to prove this world wrong, right? Like, whatever that is. Like, I'm looking for that. Like, okay, I had a young dude I just hired that's like, he's 18 years old. He's like, dude, he decided not to go to college. His parents are like telling me that's a big mistake. All his homies are going to college. They're all making fun of him. They're like, oh, when we get out, we're going to be making all this money. So he comes to me, he's like, dude, I got to prove them all wrong. So by the time they're out of college, I got to be making more money than any of those could ever dream. It's like, by the time within 4 years, I need to be making $500,000 a year in real estate. Like, that's what I want. Like, because, money's good, but it's like, it's got to be deeper than that, right? But then from there, it's about testing, so especially on a team front, if it's a brokerage thing, and it's like, okay, if I bring them on and they're not costing me any money, and they close, we both make money, and it's a win-win, symbiotic relationship. That's a little bit different, but if they're coming on a team and I'm investing a lot of money in leads and, like whether it's Zillow or Facebook or whatever those are, because you start looking at this, like a Zillow lead, that's like if I have somebody that fumbles, one, if we break down our numbers, I mean, essentially every Zillow opportunity is worth at least $1,000 to me. Doesn't mean I'm paying necessarily $1,000 per lead, but that's the missed opportunity if I have it in the wrong hands to convert. So then from there we test them. So, here's the onboarding you're going to go through. Okay, well, dude, 30% of people don't even get through the onboard. Then from there it's like, okay, and then here's our 30-day test. So, okay, like, here's some old leads. Here's the scripts. You're going to call 2 hours a day, every single day, Monday through Friday. Like, and I don't care if they have any success with those, but like, you're going to prove yourself, before you come in here. Now, I've never not had anybody ever not set at least or get one client out of that 30-day test, but half the people don't even that test. I'm like, okay, dude, if you cannot Monday through Friday fall for 2 hours a day with leads that I'm giving you and follow these scripts that I'm showing you to follow, they're never going to make it, and probably never going to make it in the industry. Plus, they're never going to definitely make it inside my lead division, so, just test. And I do the same thing on employees. I could do, but my employees, they might have 7 or 8 tests, but on the agent side, that's what I found.
It's interesting going back to where you said the different personality types where people can develop that chip on their shoulder, or it might start coming out as they get into the entrepreneurial world, which is what I think happened to me. Like, I didn't have that fire while I was in the military. It was 9 to 5, or, plus deployments, whatever. But it was very W-2 mindset. And then there was that shift, like had I interviewed with brokerages beforehand, they'd be like, thanks, but no thanks. It has to happen over time, and it can be developed. I think that's where the surprise is sometimes, where you're like, oh, this person's going to be a killer, or this person might be the 20% dud, and it just goes whoop the opposite direction. So I find that like super interesting. Okay. We ask every guest to provide what we call a golden nugget, or something like tactical that the listeners can download, use, whether it's a script, a checklist, whatever. You probably have you have a wealth of information. Do you have any idea on what you can provide our guests?
Yeah, I could probably several different things. So I have actually a script book here I'll give you guys. So I'll get you this. So this is essentially turn it into a book, but is 42 top tips. But each tip is like an in-depth. So like, my expired scripts or open house scripts, or so these are just, 42 different, whether, talk about time management, talking about tracking, talking about, anything and everything, that's pertinent to the business. So, if anybody just takes one of those tips and runs with it, they can probably create a lot of success, from that. And then, maybe with the current market that we're in right now, I'll give you guys my, absentee owner scripts that we're utilizing, that, like I talked about, the short-term investors that, whether it's short-term investors, whether it's buy and hold investors, or just secondary, because those are all great people to target right now. So I'll give you guys those scripts too that you guys can hand out. So then, because look, dude, if any of you that are watching and listening to this, if you started consistently dialing an hour a day, there's no reason any of you shouldn't be listing one property a week. Right? And then let's just say in your market, you've got a 75% listing to sale ratio. Okay, that's 3 closings a month. Now, for most of us, most commissions are, 10 grand, let's just say. It might be a little bit less than that, might be a little bit more than that. But, okay, just people don't realize in this industry, yeah, it takes work. But dude, it's not if you are extremely laser focused and calling the right people and with the right strategies, look, dude, it doesn't take that much time. I mean, you can be part-time in this business, easily make it 30 plus grand a month. So yeah, I'll share that with you guys too. So you guys have that.
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. Back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show. Dude, you're the best. Listeners, you can go to theagentgoldmine.com to get a copy of that. And Joshua, so in the beginning, you mentioned how your purpose is growth and expansion, right? So as you look ahead, what realm are you looking to grow and expand? What's exciting to you in the future?
Dude, all of it's exciting. I've got kids, so I've got, my youngest is 10, my oldest is 15, so thinking about, now I look at this as being the worst parenting ever, but my kid's dude, you're not going to college. Absolutely. No, you're not going to college. You're going to either work for me or we're going to go out there and start a venture together or figure this out. But I'm, a lot of people when the kids get older, they're I've enjoyed all those phases, but I'm really excited for them because the cool thing is now they all have interests. I've indoctrinated them well with have interest in working together and doing different. So I'm excited about that, right? I mean, I'm excited about their ages they are too, but I'm not one that, gets discouraged. So I'll be 42 next month, so then it's okay, man, I'm excited about, and I'm working with my health and fitness mentor of, okay, what are the things I need to be doing now so I can ensure that I'm in epic shape when I'm 70 and I can still be snowboarding, doing all the I want to do and still have a body better than 20-year-olds when I'm 70, right? So I'm excited about that, man. I'm excited about every element of life, excited about business. Business right now, our focus is I've got kind of 2 primary focuses, which is building, my software company and building our franchising business. Now I love the coaching the most, but the coaching kind of leads to this other stuff and all of it, okay, I've got to be a great coach to help our franchise owners and our partners there grow and my software clients grow, but for, the biggest upside, I mean, with those 2 businesses alone, I mean, my long-term, business goal, when I say long-term within 20 years is, to have at least $1 billion worth of exits there, so yeah, I mean, all of it's, and hey, man, maybe it all crashes and burns and I'll lose it all. And I'm in a 600 square foot apartment tomorrow with, me and my studio apartment. And it's just me, my kids, my wife, my dogs on an air mattress. Hey, life's still good. I'm excited for that journey too, and to evolve from those learning mistakes. So whatever it is, I'm excited.
Yeah. And that goes to show that no matter at what level you're at, you're going to have those fears. I feel like a lot of newer agents, when they get in the business, they're like, oh man, that person is so successful. They must not have any fears. They must not think that same, I don't know, just level of fear of living under a bridge, if they make the wrong steps. Everyone has that. But yeah. So, okay. I want to head to the wrap up questions that we have. We asked 4 questions and then, so let me just start. Okay. Favorite app or tool, whether in your business or your personal life?
Oh, I don't really have any apps that I hate phones, dude. I'm probably the worst guy to ask this question to. Favorite app or tool?
Or we can switch it to just maybe a life hack or a business hack, something that just.
Yeah, I'll say the most valuable tactical activity I've done every single day. And I'll give this to you guys too. Perfect. For a third free gift that you can give to your people. Amazing. So it's my daily performance planner. And I just created my own just because I couldn't find any planners I liked or any, apps or whatever. But it's just daily reflection and planning. So spending 10 minutes a day, so then, okay, I just got through these because instead of trying to focus on me being great for the week or the year or whatever. Like I just live my life in 24-hour increments. Like, dude, if I take care of today, tomorrow's going to take care of itself. Right. So then from there, okay, at the end of the day, I'm going to reflect on what I got done today. So don't get through the day, but get from it. So, and this is the most powerful daily activity I've ever done that's made the biggest overall impact on any aspect of success that I've experienced at this point. So then it's just rolling the tapes while they're fresh. Okay, so what did I get done? Based on, okay, here's what I needed to get done. How did I do based on what I needed to get done? Did I get everything done I needed to get done? Then from there, I start off with elimination. Okay, what got on my calendar or what took away energy, time, focus, or whatever that was an utter waste of time. So then I can learn from that and I can eliminate it and just get rid of that altogether. Then from there, okay, of the things that were effective moving the needle forward, I have questions that I, walk everybody through on this that they can have. But so then from there, okay, of the things that were moving the needle forward, how can I become a little bit more effective and efficient at those things? Because most people are like focused, oh, this only takes a second. Oh, it just takes 30 seconds. Well, all that shit adds up. Next thing you know, it's years out of your life, right? Then from there, I ask myself two kind of gut wrenching, kind of assessment questions. Number one is, okay, if I were to hire my CEO to replace me, and my CEO did everything I did today, would I be pleased or disappointed with their performance? So essentially, I'm asking myself, like, would I fire my own ass? And then fire my own ass. The last question I ask on it from the reflection standpoint is, okay, if my wife and my kids were flies on the wall all day long and they shadow me all day long, would they be proud or disappointed in my performance? Like, would my wife be like, oh, dude, like, I'm so blessed to be married to such an amazing guy that works so hard for his kids and for his family. My kids be like, oh, dude, our dad busts his ass off to create opportunities for us. Or would they be like, dude, we don't see you 12 hours in. This is what the you do with your day. So it's just a gut check every day. And I've had many of days, dude, where it's like they're disappointed. When I had my issue with alcohol, like I should have been working, but I was at the bar. Like, okay, like what kind of a leader or a husband or a father was I in that season of my life? Then from there, now I plan out the next perfect day. From the second I wake up to the second I go to bed, what's everything that needs to take place to make today a win, not just business, but also personal. So I have, everything broken down in 15 minutes accounted for, throughout that. And then from there, it's execution, right? So it's just reflect, plan, execute. So that's been the best hack I've ever done to be very effective and efficient.
It's such a good hack. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to go and actually, I'm going to bring this to my husband and be like, yo, these are the questions we need to be asking ourselves every day. That was really freaking good. And our next wrap up question, though, is what events are you going to this year? But I remember that you are not doing events, right? Until your kids are out of the house. And then you're going to go back to speaking and doing all of it. Is that correct? Is that still a thing?
So I host my own events. I have one coming up October 10th and 11th here in Phoenix. So it's a private event for, just coaching clients and clients of mine and my own internal agents. So I've got that coming up in a couple weeks. And then we'll do another one in April. But then, as far as that, like me speaking at events and so forth, I kind of shy away from those.
How can we help you in your business? And I know this question is asked sometimes flippantly, but seriously, how can we help you in your business?
Well, I mean, just by doing this podcast has helped. I mean, to me, it's I'm at a stage right now where, the most important thing to me as far as, because we're always having to calculate, okay, like what is, and I talked about, okay, I want to have $1 billion exit between, my business portfolio that I'm creating. But at the highest level, when I talk about growth and expansion, that growth and expansion exists so that I can go out there and make the biggest impact on others that I possibly can. And with that, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm a saint. It's from a selfish level, dude. It's where I feel at my absolute best is when I'm helping others, dude, right? So it makes me feel really good about myself when I'm helping others at the highest level. So, hopefully this message resonates with some people and some people learn things, that are watching or listening to this and, it's adding value. So that's massively helpful. Then from there, I took a big hiatus on social media. I ditched my smartphone, went back to a flip phone, a dumb phone is now that they call it. But I realized that was a mistake. It was good in that I didn't realize how addicted I'd become to a smartphone. Right. And I didn't even think I was that addicted, but it's kind of like the frog in the pot. Like you don't even notice that this stuff is happening, but then, so I loved not having it, but then I realized I lost so much momentum, on the social media presence. So, that's that. Because at the end of the day, we're in the attention economy. So like, dude, like it doesn't matter. Like you got to go out there and get attention and have that awareness on all fronts. So, in order for me to hit my goals, like I've got to, whether that be impact goals, whether it be financial goals, I've got to have a hell of a lot more attention and awareness, out there. So, I'm kicking that up. So, any good hacks that you guys learn as far as, growing audiences and, whatever, and then anything to get more attention and awareness.
And with that attention, people are listening to this and they're like, I need more of Joshua Smith. Where should they go to find you?
GSDmode.com is kind of the hub website. So you can connect with, the podcast, thousands of episodes of stuff out there, whether it be YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or a bunch of other, online free resources and trainings and all of that on there, or any social, like whether it be Facebook, Insta, just Joshua Smith GSD or Joshua Smith GSD mode. Type in Joshua Smith GSD and you'll find me pretty much everywhere.
I love your website. I'm on it right now. And yeah, so for those that are considering coaching, GSDmode.com, just click on the coaching tab. There is a zero pressure discovery call with you if they want to learn more. And if you guys wanted to follow us too, we are Ali the Agent. We are the Shelby Show. Again, you can find all of these pieces of implementation that you can just download. Thank you so much for providing so much to theagentgoldmine.com. Super appreciate it. And thank you so much for your time, Josh. It's super nice having you on the show, and it's always lovely talking to you.
You're amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you guys both too, man. I love following you guys and everything that you're up to. And this was a lot of fun and a huge honor. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. For those that are listening.
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.